Welcome to Rotten Angel. You play as this person, and you're dead. Damn. Now both your boyfriend and his twin brother had to figure out what to do with your body. But what happens to them depends on what you've done with the both of them. Here are the content warnings, and no, I do not condone this dynamic. This is you. Oh, who am I? It's Lion. And how would you prefer to refer to yourself? They, them. So your name is Lion, and your pronouns are they, them. Is that right? Yep. There's a reason why I'm going through the character creation screen, by the way. Pain shoots across your stomach. It had been an excruciating few hours for you, and the day had only started. You practically had emptied out your insides to the point that they felt hollow, light. You got food poisoning, you thought. However, you weren't exactly too alarmed. Wasn't your first rodeo, and it usually went away quietly after a few hours for you. As for what caused it, you have two guesses. It was either the toast you just ate or the dinner you had during Halloween night. However, you didn't exactly want to tell your boyfriend and his twin brother, Evangel and Angel, that their cooking might be the cause of it. The three of you haven't spent much time together lately. It was such a fun dinner. You didn't want to ruin the mood. That and Evan just left for work. You'd rather deal with this on your own rather than disturb him. Maybe if it got too much, you'd finally go to the hospital and let them know. You came to regret that decision, though. Morning turned to evening, and the pain only doubled. By the time it got worse, you were already on the floor, crawling and dragging yourself, desperate for survival. Your vision gradually darkened. The pain slowly went away, but so did your life. Just like that, you died. Did I die of a really bad dinner? That evening, Evangel, nicknamed Evan, went back to his apartment after a hard day at work. An alarming sight stopped him dead in his tracks. It was your body, laid sprawled on the ground. Your phone was seen near you, and your eyes only gazed downwards without any focus. Your body was limp and unmoving. Evan? What's wrong? A voice called out from behind him, followed by a noise of a closing door. It was Angel, his younger flesh and blood. His question carried both curiosity and concern in it, though it clearly wasn't enough to grab his brother's attention. Angel was about to call out again when he himself finally saw the body. The brothers gaped at the chilling scene before them, both equally as frozen as the corpse laying on the floor. It was as if time stopped for a moment. The first to break that stillness was Evan. He rushed to his partner, immediately checking your neck for a pulse and your nose for any sign of breathing. When he found none, he was quick to perform CPR on you as a Hail Mary pass. While Evan seemed to be able to control his motions well, his twin's reaction was far from it. His breath quickened, and his skin turned deathly pale. In an effort to calm himself, he gripped his own shirt and approached them. Lion? Can you hear me? Evan's eye twitched at Angel's useless question and wasteful action, an expression that completely went over Angel. Evan couldn't afford to call him out on it, though. He continued to try his best to save your life, to no avail. His efforts did nothing. It was only after minutes passed that he realized this, and finally pulled away. Angel could only hold his breath when he saw his older brother give up. He didn't dare to say anything, instead, waiting for Evan to break the silence once more. They're gone. Gone? As in dead. What else? No way. Without giving any response nor consolation to his panicking brother, Evan walked off to the nearest wall and leaned his back on it. His lips formed a thin line as his eyebrows knit together. It was a reaction that once again contrasted his twin, who began to approach you and held your cheek, lightly tapping it. A gesture indicating that he didn't quite believe that you were already gone. A pair of eyes teared up, while another pair gazed to the ground. While a sob began to break out from Angel, Evan could only sigh with the slightest hint of quiver. We were just hanging out and watching movies yesterday. And I promise that we hang out more often. Oh God. I'm sorry, Lion. I'm so... Angel, will you shut up for a second? Huh? I'm trying to think. With eyes wide and jaw slacked, Angel stared at Evan. His lips opened, yet closed again wordlessly. The motion repeated twice before Angel meekly gave up and went silent instead. Minutes passed by. Angel grew even more nervous as the passage of time dragged on. Every time he glanced at Evan, he was thinking deeply and was letting none of his thoughts escape from his throat. Evan's gaze shifted back and forth from your body to Angel multiple times. Wait here and don't move. Okay. Angel only watched as Evan walked away towards the kitchen. Not long after, he heard rummaging from the kitchen. Cabinets were opened, jaws were moved. It was at least obvious enough that Evan was looking for something as quickly as he could. But what? Angel could only speculate. Both curiosity and anxiety ate up at Angel, yet he did not dare move. The uncertainty and the mystery of what his brother could be thinking was agonizing to Angel, terrifying even. He hadn't even the slightest clue of what his older brother would do next. Eventually, Evan walked back to where Angel and you were. His dissatisfied look made it clear that he didn't find what he was looking for. Being his usual spineless self, Angel didn't dare ask about it. Though at least he was brave enough to suggest an idea instead. Hey, we should call for paramedics or something, right? We need to report it, and, we don't even know what happened to them, so... I'll call him, okay? Stop. Angel, who was about to reach out to his phone at that point, froze. Let's not do that just yet. Huh? His words caught Angel off guard, but Evan didn't care. He continued on in a quieter voice. I have a pretty big suitcase in our bedroom. Grab that and... And? Put Lion in... I'm gonna be put into the suitcase! No! Don't put me in there! It's dark! A beat. Angel stared at Evan blankly. Eventually, Angel stuttered. Sorry, put them inside the suitcase? His question was responded with a curt nod from Evan. I'll have the car ready. Bring Lion's body down with you, and come with me when you're done. Evan, are you sure? I mean, they're your partner, aren't they? And where are we even going, anyway? To our old house. Why? Evan glared frostily at Angel, causing the latter to flinch. Angel was ready to be scolded, but Evan's scathing words never came. Evan just walked off. Just get to it before you regret it. At that threat, Angel lowered his head, yet his body moved accordingly, following his brother's orders. To say that he was confused was a huge understatement. Seeing that, Evan also left to get the car as planned. As Evan walked away from the room, Angel could only stare. Angel knew his brother more than anyone. That was what he thought. He knew that Evan was bad at expressing himself, but he also knew that his brother was mostly well-intentioned and nice. Did he truly know him after all? Or did Evan know something Angel didn't? Meanwhile, as Evan was preparing his car, countless thoughts also filled his head. Too many for him to process them properly one by one. Fortunately for him, he was able to refocus his attention once he started up the car, clearing his head as his hands were on the cold steering wheel. As Evan had briefed before, Angel came downstairs. bringing the luggage as if he was about to go on a holiday. Amidst the heavy fog, in the dimly lit street, Angel put the luggage inside the car trunk before taking a seat in the front, beside Evan. With that, they took off. The car ride was quiet at first. The silence was far from comfortable. It was as if the two were waiting for the other brother to say something first. It was only a matter of who was brave enough to do so. Between them, Evan had always been the quicker one to take initiatives, and this wasn't an exception. Angel? Yeah? What do you think happened to Lion? I'm not sure. That's why I offered to call for help. Maybe we'll find out if... I don't care. Just tell me what you think happened. Angel chewed on the inside of his mouth, thinking of what to say. Evan gave him all the time in the world to think, occasionally stealing quick glances at Angel. Eventually, the younger man spoke. Maybe it was a heart attack or something like that. With his eyes still glued to the road, Evan only let out a small hum. The minuscule reaction worried Angel, so he continued on. It was so sudden, so I'm trying to think of any health conditions that could cause that. Evan, do you know if Lion has told you about any of that? Evan looked back and pondered. In his memory, he recalled that. You've not talked to him about this. Oh, wow, okay. You told him that you do have some health complications in the past. You told him that you seem to be healthy, but your family has a history of health complications in the past. You told him that you're pretty much healthy, and so does your family. Why, well... I mean, I guess I've had some health complications, and my family does have a history. I'd say the latter, yeah. Evan recalled the conversation you two had about it. While you seem to be perfectly healthy, you told him that your family had a history of health complications. You've notified Evan about it. In return, Evan told you that his family had a history of hypertension. Afterwards, in his usual indifferent tone, he let you know that he was glad that you were as fit as a fiddle and hoped it stayed that way. Evan felt his eye twitched upon looking back at it. He then told Angel about what he learned. I see. Well, now we know that there was still a possibility for Lion to die from a sudden illness. Uh-huh. That or it was related to food. Angel stared at Evan. I'm not going to lie. Food poisoning did cross my mind too. But I chalked it off because we're still fine. Evan narrowed his eyes at Angel, but he shifted his gaze at the road once again as he asked the question. Then how about the mushrooms you used as ingredients? Have you double-checked that they were edible? It was only when Evan questioned Angel's specialty that Angel began to respond with more assertion. Evan, I know my mushrooms. You also know well that my roommate and I only grow edible ones. That wasn't the first time I offered Lion the mushrooms that I used for the Halloween dinner either. Huh. Evan's questionable reaction shrunk Angel back into a shell. He quickly added, Evan, I really don't think we can just speculate about Lion's cause of death since this is not our forte. That's why I said, call the paramedics or go to the hospital or... We'll go there after we visit our old house. The car fell into silence once again. They could only hear the sound of other vehicles passing by, each going about their daily lives and unaware of the fact that your body laid in their trunk, nor the turmoil the brothers were currently going through. Angel was biting his own lips and playing with the seams of his sleeves. I'm also sorry for laughing about this, but it's just so funny thinking that my body is just in the trunk, like in a little suitcase. Like, it's a horrifying scenario in any other situation, but in this case, it's just funny. Finding his own uneasiness to be unbearable, Angel finally decided to voice one glaring question out to Evan. Hey, Evan? You never answered my question before. Which one? Why are we visiting our old house? What's left of that abandoned shack anyway? What are you planning? There might be something... There might be nothing much there anymore, but I've always wanted to bring Lion there. I've made a promise to them. Evan's tone shifted, becoming more expressive than it usually was. Angel also noticed his brother's index finger tapping on the steering wheel. The behavior made Angel tilt his head curiously. You did? Uh-huh. You wanted to show them the house where Dad used to yell and hit us? Yeah. Really? Despite that, it was still the place where we were born and raised. The more Evan responded, the more perplexed Angel became. He couldn't fathom what drove his brother to be saying all this. A small laugh of disbelief escaped Angel's lips as he stared at Evan. That's what I said back then, no? And I remember you dismissing it, saying that we're better off forgetting that good-for-nothing house in the middle of nowhere. Angel, you know that I'm driving right now, don't you? Yeah? If you don't want me to ram this car into the truck over there, you need to stop questioning me. Got it? Angel could not argue with that. Not only because he wanted to live, but also because Evan clearly didn't want to explain himself. The only thing that he could do was slowly nod in response. However, Angel did decide to change the subject. Lion, huh? I still can't believe that they're gone now. Huh. Angel began to reminisce about the days you and Evan were together. He remembered those days to be... happy. You truly loved Evan despite his awkwardness. Bittersweet, you initially loved Evan, but the love soon died out. I love him! I've always thought that they were really nice. Remember the first time you introduced them to me during the summer 2 years ago? How happy you two looked. Your smile that day was the brightest it had ever been, I think. I just regret that I hadn't spent much time with them. And that's just me. I can't imagine how you must be feeling. I mean, you two were so close. Lion was so nice towards you, and you really softened up ever since you met them. Angel's voice slowly went quieter. He was muttering when he said the next few words. I'm almost jealous, if I have to be honest. At that, Evan raised an eyebrow, though he didn't seem to be surprised. Jealous, huh? I was just saying, it's impressive that Lion was able to do that. They must have been really special to you. When Angel took a brief look at Evan, he saw his brother looking as if he'd murder him right on the spot if he had said another word. Alarmed by this, Angel decided to end his musings early. My point is, I just want to say that you can talk to me about it, that's all. I know Lion meant a lot to you, so... So you knew. What? You of all people would know that they meant a lot to me. Angel only nodded slowly, not knowing where Evan was going with this. So it surprised me that you've been trying to steal them away from me, Angel. With his stomach beginning to lurch, Angel slowly turned his head towards Evan. Two pairs of eyes met just for the briefest moment before Evan redirected his vision back to the road. Angel's surprised gaze, however, was locked in at Evan's side profile. What do you mean? Don't play dumb. I know you've been meeting alone with Lion every chance you got. Angel only gaped after hearing Evan's words. On the other hand, Evan scoffed as he kept on going. You think I have no idea? You've been trying to get close to them behind my back, haven't you? Me? Evan, are you serious? Evan squinted at his younger brother's pathetic response. He recalled that, you told him how uncomfortable you were with how much Angel was trying to approach you. He happened to see both you and Angel leave a hotel. What? I guess I'm uncomfortable with how much Angel was trying to approach me? I would be pretty freaked out, honestly. Back then, you were indeed approached by Angel behind Evan's back. It seemed friendly enough at first. Eventually, he began to act much bolder. A pat on the shoulder, hand-holding, and a hug at one point. He never went beyond that, though. He was certainly very touchy. Not only that, He also began to show his concern to you, basically telling you that Evan was never a good boyfriend. Something about how Evan never treated his previous partners right and that you deserved so much better. Angel's words and actions were sweet and alluring, but you believed in Evan more than him. So you told Evan about this just a few days before the Halloween dinner. Lion told me all about it, Angel. Not only did you approach them, you also spread lies about me to them. What? You told them that I was cold, demanding, and abusive towards my exes. I don't remember that being the truth. That's absurd! I never did any of that. You agreed that Lion is not the type who would slander you, right? Yeah? If they weren't lying, then what was that? I don't know, maybe that was a misunderstanding between us. Then tell me, when you told Lion back then. I just told them that you might be cold sometimes, but I tried to assure them that you meant well. That's all. Really? Really, I swear. That's what I told them. Anything else was... Maybe they mistook my friendliness for something else. Sorry, I don't know for sure. Huh. Evan, you know I only want what's best for you. With all these things that happened to us, all I want now is to just see you be happy to live. I wouldn't want to ruin it for you, so please, believe me. Evan only stared at the never-ending road in front of him. He looked like he wanted to say something, however, he ultimately dropped the topic. They were on the road at midnight, and Evan didn't want to be the cause of their demise. The two didn't talk for the rest of the ride. Both brothers were keeping their thoughts to themselves. Although, whatever it was that the two were thinking about, it was abruptly interrupted by them noticing flashing lights behind them. It's a police car. Huh? We're being asked to pull over. I know, but what about Lion? Angel nervously glanced behind, looking back and forth between the trunk and the police car. The fact that his brother was able to stay calm about all of this was impressive, to be honest. As Evan was slowly and carefully pulling over to the side of the road, he told Angel this. They wouldn't do anything as long as we're not acting suspicious. That's why. Angel, you go talk to them. Oh. Angel did not complain, not that they had the time to. Once an officer came over to their car, Evan rolled this out of the window to let the officer have a look inside. As the man in uniform peered in, he saw the twin brothers. One was looking at him with indifference, while another smiled politely at him. Good evening, sir. What can we help you with? It was as if they were simply having a pleasant night out, with how casual Angel was acting. Evening, sirs. We just wanted to check in with you to make sure everything's all good here. There have been a few cases of people drunk driving here lately, and we just want to be safe. Hope you don't mind. Of course. We understand the concern. Great. Thanks for understanding. Show us your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance, please. Here. Evan handed the documents needed as swiftly as he could. The cop took a brief look at it before nodding and pulling a small device, a breathalyzer. Evan was told to breathe on it, and the test came out negative. Right. You two are good to go. Thank you so much. Have a good night, sir. Finding Angel's attitude to be very pleasant, the officer reciprocated his friendliness back at him. You too. Have a safe trip and take a break if you're getting sleepy on the road. The fog is also heavy, so drive carefully, eh? We will. Take care of yourselves as well, officer. After a nod from the cops, the two watched as the police car parking behind them began to embark. Once Evan rolled the window up, the two collectively let out a sigh that they'd been holding in for a while. I was so nervous. Really now? I couldn't tell. It's a good thing you and that police officer both couldn't. When Angel looked up, he saw Evan staring at him with narrowed eyes. What? He didn't answer. Instead, he started the car once again, before he held the steering wheel, preparing for the road. Nothing. The rest of the ride was quiet, uncomfortably so. An hour after midnight, They finally reached their old house. It was tucked away in the middle of nowhere, near an untouched forest, while being far from civilization. The last time these two had ever seen this house was when they were around 10. It was when they were brought away by Child Protection Services after someone had reported on their parents. Back then, the house was already somewhat worn, as nobody had the time to keep the house in its prime state. Now, as the two stood in front of it, the house was much dingier. Overgrown plants covered in brittle walls. Some had even managed to find its way in and took residence in the house. With the suitcase beside him, Evan stared on at the house they used to live in. Countless thoughts burst in his head. Evan tried muting all of them by shaking his head and redirecting his focus on Angel. When Evan took a look at Angel, he saw him staring blankly at a cluster of pure white mushrooms near the front door. It was destroying angels. Amanita bisporigera. Come on, Angel. Angel jumped at that. He only let out a small, nervous gasp before he followed his brother in. Despite the sorry state that the house was in, the door still functioned properly. When Angel wandered in, silently observing what his old house had become, Evan had closed the door behind them. A click echoed throughout the empty house, causing Angel to turn around. Huh? You still have the key to this house? Not receiving any answer, Angel slowly asked, "Why did you lock the door, Evan?" "We need to talk, Angel." Angel stared unblinkingly as he began to piece things together. Once he mostly had figured out his brother's intentions, he could only gulp as he let out a small smile. Okay, then let's find a place to sit down." Angel didn't show what he was thinking, and this caused Evan to be on his guard. He simply let his brother roam around, searching for a good place to converse. "How about the dining table?" Evan followed after. Angel was dusting the table off, making it as clean as he could manage in such a short span of time. Afterwards, the two sat down across from each other. The chairs creaked as they sat, but it looked to be stable enough to support their weight for now. The brothers examined each other. Evan knew Angel was waiting for him to say something, so he started. "We'll get to the point." Angel nodded. "Lion's death was your doing, wasn't it?" "What makes you think so?" "When we talked in the car, I brought up that the food might be the reason for Lion's death. Never specified that it was the stuff we ate during Halloween, yet you immediately assumed it was that. It was just yesterday, so, would make sense." Angel only blinked. "I see. But the Halloween dinner was just the first thing that popped into my mind. There was nothing more to it." "Of course. But that was just what nailed the coffin for me. Before that, it's painfully obvious that you've been acting really weird these past few months." "How so?" "I know that you sometimes act pettily and spitefully whenever I get myself a partner, but with Lion, you were being way too aggressive." Okay. Does that immediately rule out the fact that Lion could die an accidental death?" "No." "Then what are you getting at?" Evan only sighed as he leaned forward. "I was saying that you're getting bolder in your hatred against me. You weren't being subtle at all." Angel stared, his jaw slacked. "You think I wouldn't notice?" "You were always hiding behind me whenever something happened, but I've caught you staring at me with contempt numerous times before." "Oh." Evan took notice of Angel's shift in expression, a scowl, one unbefitting of Angel's soft features. It was an abnormal sight, but Evan only regarded it as if he was used to seeing that look. Yeah, that look. Angel only sighed before he stared at the table in front of him, diverting his gaze from his older twin brother. "I don't hate you, though. Far from it." "Evidence and action say otherwise, Angel." "Let's say that I do, then. Wouldn't I try to kill you rather than Lion? Here's what I think. You're in love with Lion, so you tried getting close to them. But I was in your way. So you tried to poison me, but you accidentally gave the plate to Lion instead. In that case, it makes perfect sense why you're so panicked, insisting over and over to call for authorities. You feel guilty. Huh? So, am I right? Honestly, that's so baseless. I'm almost speechless. Aren't you supposed to be the smarter one between us? I mean, if you're going to accuse me of something so grave, at least give me some concrete evidence or something. Sorry, I need to act quick before you could take the upper hand. Angel let out a long sigh. But, despite it being so groundless, you're somewhat correct. Evan's eyes widened at Angel's sudden admission of guilt. You're right that I killed Lion, but you have the motive wrong. Sorry, Evan. Better luck next time. I'd prefer it if there wasn't a next time. Why did you do it? Slow down. Let me correct you first. I didn't target the wrong person. I've wanted to kill Lion, and I did just that. Do you really think I'm so clumsy that I'd make a mistake for something so crucial? Angel let out a soft chuckle. It carried a slight bitterness to it. Well, just goes to show how much you've always looked down on me. But I made the same mistake and underestimated you. I never expected you to keep your calm all this time and bring me to this old place. I thought you would have been panicking, broke down or something. We called the authorities, you mourned the death of your beloved, and I'd most likely be found out of poisoning afterwards. Hearing this, Evan raised an eyebrow. He wanted to ask him something, but Angel seemed to be aware of it already, so he added, Honestly, if I were to be caught, I would immediately plead guilty. Whatever my sentence would be, I'd accept it, and never elaborate on why I did it. Why, you might ask? Your partner died. I killed him. And you never found out why. Wouldn't you want closure? Would your mind handle all the stress? I guess I just wanted to see how you would react. Evan only left his mouth open, speechless. Instead, you brought me here to interrogate me. Or was that really why you did that, brother? I think there's something else. Deep down, you feel guilty, don't you? Whatever Evan wanted to say, it was stuck and left unsaid. Almost like a piece of fishbone that hooked itself on the flesh of his throat. This big reaction from Evan caused Angel to smile knowingly. You feel that you've wronged me in some way. That I hate you because of you. And thanks to that hate, I killed Lion. You feel responsible for their death, right? Maybe if you've never met Lion, never confessed to them, or maybe if you could just be a better brother, none of this would have happened. Is that why you wanted to talk to me first? To gain understanding? Or maybe you wanted to help me to make up for it? That's... Evan's usual hesitance was all the confirmation Angel needed. So it was that. You're still so kind after all, Evan. That's why I love you. Evan froze. He slowly tilted his head upwards to look at his younger half. A pair of pale eyes met each other's gaze. Angel was covering half of his reddening face. It was as if he was a flustered high school girl experiencing her first love. Oh, I said it. That is so embarrassing. Wait, what do you mean? Like I said, I don't hate you, Evan. In fact, I love you. I really, really love you. Love? Love as in... How do I explain it? I don't know when it started. All I know is that you're the only one for me ever since you started defending me from Dad. I don't think I'd even be alive if it weren't for you. You'll hate me for this, but whenever I saw you all bruised up, my heart always skipped a beat. You were so quiet and gentle, but the more you stood up for me, the more you became this cold person. I love that I have that effect on you, to know that I could become a big reason why you are the way you are now. What the? Angel stood up from his seat. I love how dependable you are. Angel took a step forward, approaching Evan. I love how kind you are, I love how much you're willing to sacrifice yourself to me. I love seeing your reaction whenever you think you've done something wrong. I love how seeing red and blue bruises adorn your skin. I love you, Evan. Evan was stunned into silence at his brother's lengthy proclamation of love. He felt every inch of his body go numb from his intensity. As Angel got increasingly closer, Evan slowly reached into the insides of his coat. Evan soon regretted his decisions, though, as Angel immediately rushed over upon seeing it. Drowning in his own panic, Evan also stood up and was about to run off. Evan, however, tripped on one of the table's legs. It gave Angel a window of opportunity to catch and hold on to him, which he quickly acted on. With Evan on the ground, Angel sat on his back, focusing his entire body weight down as he forcefully reached inside of Evan's coat. "What's this, Evan?" Angel asked as he pulled something out of Evan's coat. A hammer. "What are you planning to do with this thing? To hurt me?" Gritting his teeth, Evan struggled. "Yeah, because clearly I don't feel safe around you! Get off of me, Angel!" Oh. Angel only stared at the back of his brother as he made up a decision in his head. He decided to swing the hammer down onto Evan's skull, causing him to grunt. Scarlet red began to stain Evan's colorless hair. A grin slowly crept up on Angel's face. The sight of it made Angel's heart race, his breathing heavy, and his head light. The euphoria he felt upon seeing his own flesh and blood injured because of him was unbearable. He craved more of it. And so he swung down once again, and again, and again. It was when Evan fell unconscious that Angel snapped out of it. When Evan awoke, he found himself lying on the ground of a familiar basement with a stinging headache. It was the basement of their old house. Dark, dingy, and musty. Evan remembered vividly that this was the room that his parents used to trap them when they misbehaved. Not only that, he also saw the suitcase where his dead partner was in, standing not too far from where he was. Everything about it choked Evan up. He wanted to leave. Now. He tried to get up, battling the intense pain on the back of his head. However, he very soon found out that both of his hands were handcuffed. When he moved his legs, one of them was cuffed to one of the pipes that was stuck to the wall. No freaking way. The realization that his younger brother kidnapped him was starting to dawn on him. It was suffocating. His eyes felt like it was about to burn as tears threatened to leave his eye sockets. What did he do to deserve this? He wanted to give Angel a chance to explain himself. He wanted to give the brother he shared his sufferings with the benefit of the doubt. He gave everything to Angel, and he trampled it all on the ground, stomping and ripping it to shreds while he was at it. Perhaps this was his punishment for treating Lion horribly after their death, he thought. For choosing to listen to Angel first before his partner. The guilt weighed heavily on him, but he didn't have time to dwell on it, as he heard a sound that made him nearly jump. Evan rubbed his eyes quickly before looking at the door. He saw Angel walking in with a bottle of water in his hand. As soon as Angel saw his older brother, a gentle, almost ironically angelic smile crept up on Angel's face. Evan, you're awake. You were unconscious for a while. I haven't had time to cuff you and tend to your wounds. Evan only lowered his head, not giving any response to Angel whatsoever. This made Angel tilt his head. When he got closer to Evan, he suddenly felt something wet splashed on his cheek. It turned out that Evan just spat on him. Get me out of here! Angel only rubbed his cheek, still with that oh-so-gentle smile of his. I'm surprised you're still fine after all that. You never failed to impress me with your strength. I said, get me out of here, Angel! Or what? Or what? Or what? You're insane, Angel! The hell do you mean by or what? Get me out! Evan's hysterical howling was abruptly stopped when Angel seized Evan by the jaw. He dug his nail into his skin, inciting a groan out of Evan. Quiet down for me, will ya? Ugh! You'll stay in here for as long as you can, until either you die or I get captured. Do you understand? Evan could only growl at Angel before he bit down on Angel's hand as hard as he could. He even managed to puncture the skin. Angel gasped and immediately pulled away, looking back and forth between his bleeding wound and at Evan. His reaction, coupled with the searing taste of iron in his mouth, made Evan scoff triumphantly. Serves you right, you freaking lunatic! Evan, you're adorable. I think I'm falling for you all over again. Falling in love? The moment Evan heard those words again, it was as if his insides turned upside down. However, no matter how unpleasant he felt, he didn't want to quiet down and bow down to Angel. That was the last thing he'd do. You're joking. How can you call those rotten feelings of yours love? What you love isn't me, it's my suffering. Huh? In other words, you hate me, loathe me. You're not wrong, but you're not right either. Loving you so much that I despise you, or hating you so much that I adore you, still doesn't change the fact that what I feel for you is intense. It's so intense that I can't hold it in much longer. And I love that feeling, which means I love you. Perhaps not in a traditional way, but it's still love. Evan could only knit his brows in response. Unlike Angel, he was someone who didn't delve much into his emotions. Therefore, Angel's rambling about how he felt only managed to confuse him. He didn't get his brother. He couldn't understand him one bit. He didn't want to be able to understand him. You're not making any sense, Angel. Angel, on the other hand, had expected this response from Evan. He only smiled with tranquility and understanding. Then, I'll just make you understand during our time together. As they talked, both Evan and Angel heard a gurgling noise coming from the older twin's stomach. Angel only flashed a smile at that before he stood up. But that time isn't now, it seems. I'll go get us some breakfast. Like hell you're gonna do that! Hey! Come back! As if deaf to his brother's pleadings, Angel walked back to the door. The last thing Evan saw was Angel's beaming smile as he closed the door. Sit tight and wait for me, okay? Are you kidding me? Angel! Angel! The door closed shut, engulfing Evan's world into darkness once again. Oh shit. Right, we're gonna go for the alternate ending for this, and for that, we're going to say, you have not talked to him about this. Evan recalled that you never told him anything. He didn't know whether it was because you two had never had the time to sit down and talk about it, or whether you just didn't want to discuss it with Evan. You took your reason with you to your grave, and there was no more chance for you two to converse. The thought left a bitter taste in Evan's mouth, deepening his frown. I don't know. They never told me. I see. The only way we can know is by talking to their family or have their causes of death be certified. Uh-huh. That or it was related to food. Angel stared at Evan. I'm not going to lie. Food poisoning did cross my mind too. Let's see if we can skip ahead. Oh, we can. It was bittersweet. You initially loved Evan, but the love soon died out. I've always thought they were really nice. Remember the first time you introduced them to me during the summer 2 years ago? How happy you two looked. Your smile that day was the brightest it had ever been, I think. Let's see if we can't skip this just yet. Well, I noticed that you two slowly drifted away. Despite that, I know you still cherished Lion, since you let them stay in your apartment and all. And now, Lioness. Angel's voice slowly went quieter. He was muttering when he said his next few words. Dead. It's still so surreal to think about. When Angel took a brief look at Evan, He saw his brother look as if he'd murder him right on the spot if he had said another word. Let's skip ahead. Oh, he happened to see both you and Angel leave a hotel together. When he recalled that sight he saw back then, he could feel his insides clawing at each other and threatening to leave its vessel. His hands trembled, his breathing quickened, and his face became so warm that he couldn't take it anymore. Evan pulled over to take a break to calm himself. Angel noticed this and didn't say anything, so as to not disturb Evan. You indeed cheated on Evan with his brother, Angel. The truth was that he approached you and you went along with it. As a boyfriend, you noticed that Evan was bad at showing his love towards others. He went along with most of what you wanted, but it wasn't enough for you. You wanted him to treat you like you were special, like you were his one and only. Or at least, you wanted him to act more lovey-dovey so that you knew for sure that he loved you. Evan was horrendous at all of it. Thus, when his twin decided to shower you with all the love you oh so craved, you caved in. A kiss, a hug, loving intercourse. Angel will give it to you without any ounce of hesitation, and you loved it. This was a secret, only known to you and Angel. However, it seemed that you two weren't being as secretive as you two initially thought. Knowing this, Angel could only lower his head, his expression shrouded by the midnight shadow. Evan glanced over, wanting to see his brother's face. He wanted to find any ounce of guilt from Angel. Perhaps it might make him feel better that way. And yet, he couldn't see anything. For all he knew, Angel could be smiling at his brother's anguish, and the thought only frustrates Evan more. Angel, look at me. Evan briefly lost control of his emotions. He punched at the steering wheel as he yelled, "Look me in the eye!" Finally, Angel complied. He raised his head slightly. Under the dimly lit car, Evan saw Angel staring him in the eye. Sadness was written all over his younger twin's face, but there was something else. Pity. Angel was looking at him pitifully. What's with that face? I'm sorry. So you admit it? Angel sighed, but he nodded. But please, Evan, hear me out. I never consented to any of it. Evan could feel his whole body go numb. He didn't even notice he had let out a question. What do you mean? Evan could see Angel hugging himself, maybe as his way of comforting himself as he continued his claim. Lion came up to me first. Of course I rejected them, but they kept coming back. I know I should have been more assertive, standing up for myself, or even just talk to you about it. But I was scared. I didn't want to ruin it for you. Like I've said, despite everything, you seem to smile the brightest when you're with them. I don't want to take that away from you. Not when you're finally happy. I know it doesn't excuse it, though. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. A heavy sigh escaped Evan, which successfully made Angel flinch and close his eyes shut. Just as he thought Evan was going to do something, he instead felt the car beginning to move once again. Evan only stared at the never-ending road in front of him. He looked like he wanted to say something. However, he ultimately dropped the topic. Let's skip right along and see where this goes. Evan responded, but not through words. Instead, via action. He pulled a hammer. One he had been keeping since he rummaged through his kitchen before departing. Without any warning, he swung the hammer to his brother's head. At the impact, Angel fell to the floor, his head red. It took Angel a few seconds before the fact that his older brother just hit him had registered into his brain. Evan? Angel trembled. His breath quickened. All while blood began to trickle down from the wound. Unfortunately for him, Evan wasn't done. Far from it. I've had it with you. What do you... Ever since you were little, all you can do is hide behind me, using me as your convenient meat shield. I've given you everything, and how do you repay me? Evan swung down again. He wasn't stopping now, as he said his next few words through gritted teeth. By loathing me so much that you want to destroy me! By killing Lion? He stopped for a brief moment to catch his breath as he looked down on his bloodied and bruised younger twin. Angel was cowering on the ground, hugging himself. His face was obscured from Evan's view. Do you want to ruin me that badly, Angel? Where did I go wrong for you to have done all this? Angel! Answer me! Evan gripped his twin's hand and forced him up. What he saw baffled him. Angel was smiling, finding some sort of joy from his brother's agony. All Evan could see was red from that point on. Years worth of rage and frustration that was safely bottled away burst at that very moment. Evan remembered screaming. He remembered swinging again and again, over and over. When he gradually came to, his right arm felt numb. Sweat was sticking all over him. All he saw in front of him was a porridge of meat, blood, and pieces of skull taking the place of Angel's head. Evan could barely recognize his own brother if it weren't for the clothes he wore. Both the sight of the thing that used to be his brother and the visceral stench emanating from it caused Evan to fall backwards, dropping his hammer all the while. His stomach lurched. It was as though his organs couldn't take it and all rushed upwards, bulging on Evan's throat. It was unbearable. Evan vomited right then and there. He practically had emptied out his insides to the point that they felt hollow, light. Afterwards, he simply stayed there, his dull, blue eyes staring at the moldy ceiling. His mind was blank. There was too much inside his head that he couldn't focus on a single thought at all. In an effort to calm himself down, he simply stayed quiet, staring. Minutes, or perhaps even an hour passed. Evan couldn't really tell. Once he felt much calmer, he stood up. His steps were wobbly as he made his way to the door, leaving both Lion and Angel to fester in the house. As soon as he stepped outside, Evan saw the slightest hint of the rising sun from afar. Deciding that he needed a moment, he leaned his head back against the house's rotting walls. Whilst watching the sky slowly go brighter, Evan lit up his cigarette and took a drag out of it. Did Angel deserve all of this? Evan thought. Was he being too cruel to his own flesh and blood? What was the difference between him and his dad, when the both of them used violence to solve their problems? No. Wasn't he worse in that regard? To kill his own brother like that. What went so wrong that all of this happened? In the end, Evan didn't have all the answers to his questions. So, despite his complicated feelings on the matter, a sense of relief that had been focusing on. Free. He was now free from Angel. The more he focused on it, everything else faded away. The guilt, the grief, the disgust. Evan tuned it all out and began heading towards his car once the clock hit exactly 6 in the morning. He didn't know where he'd be going. He didn't have any plans. One thing was for sure. He didn't plan on getting caught so soon. As he sat down in his car, he took one last glance at the old house behind him. He breathed out a long, quivering sigh before he started his car. With that, he took off, leaving everything behind. Well, that was grim. Jesus. Anyway, that was Ron Angel. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys do want to play this for yourselves, link to the game will be in the description below. And gotta say, initially I was a little bit wary about picking up this game because of the subject matter, but I'm glad I picked it up. I believe there's just one last game from this developer which I've not covered just yet, which should be Where the Two Flowers Meet. I will try to make some time sometime in the future to actually play this, because that's definitely gonna be a multi-part series. It's much longer than the rest of their games, gotta be honest here, but I'm excited to pick it up. I'm excited to try it out sometime soon. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a lovely rest of the day, and as always, I'll be seeing you in the next video. This is Lion, signing off. Ciao.